Hey guys, welcome to another Football Manager mobile video. In this video, I'll be talking about the state of Football Manager 2022 mobile, as well as the game series. This is an honest criticism and critique of the game, based on my opinion and experience playing the game. I've played this game for a while, so you can take my opinion with a grain of salt, but I do have experience with this game, definitely. As you can see, I'm in 2043 in this game. So first of all, my biggest criticism is the addition of the features in this game. So the additions this year were scouting overhaul, better AI, more improved press options, as well as 5 playable nations, and the addition of South Africa. My biggest issue is the 3 of the South Africa being added, scouting overhaul, and the AI improvements. First of all, South Africa. South Africa wasn't a great addition as it was a niche nation, and it was the only addition to the game. On the face value of it, adding an African nation that's playable is great because you can do African club competitions, but also they completely ignored quite a few nations. First of all, they ignored Ukraine, which is a good nation for Europe. It has 2 teams that were in the Champions League this year, in Dynamo Kiev and Shakhtar Donetsk, which is a regular in the Champions League. As well as they forgot Austria, which would be much more playable, as people like to do Salzburg and find that as a great challenge, as Salzburg have also been Champions League regulars. Another league they forgot that would be a much better addition, or should have been added, is Switzerland, as you have Young Boys, and a few others, Lask. All of those options would be better than South Africa, especially as a lot of players of the mobile series play as their favorite teams, and typically as European saves, as many people are European, and I say this as someone who's Canadian. Instead, they've added over the years lots of niche leagues that aren't really played unless you're a hardcore Football Manager player, such as even Canada. Mexico was a good addition, which is fine. They had Poland, which was kind of up in the air. Even Korea, which was really niche. And Russia, which isn't played much. Those are... When you're forgetting to add Ukraine and Austria especially, when they are regulars in mainstream European football, and choosing for more niche nations for hardcore players, that's not a great decision by Sports Interactive for the mobile game. Also, a huge issue I find is this isn't South Africa, in fact, but it's only adding 1 league. When this game only has 30 leagues, 30 nations to choose from, and they're only choosing to bring in 1 in the game, when their touch and PC version has probably over 100 nations playable. It's not a good look on Football Manager. They could even bring in Brazil despite their licensing issues, and just do 3-letter abbreviations just like the PC and Touch version has. So that's one big issue I have with the state of the game. Secondly, it's their scouting overhaul. Scouting is not any better. It still has this very simplified network, as well as another big issue is that player search has not been improved. Despite them adding positions, and you're able to scout through all of that, which is a welcome addition, as that's what I wanted added in 2022 when I did my video a few months ago. They scuffed the based segment, where they've gone rid of North Africa, which is a huge part for finding Wonder Kids, as well as Central America. But the biggest issue is there's bugs in this, where Scandinavia comes up with no players found, despite there being players based in Scandinavia. I'll show you here with Sweden and Sarpsborg, which is a Norwegian side, this player's base there doesn't come up. As well as Hammarby, Malmo, players base there doesn't come up, so you have to really go through nationality to find players from these regions. This simplification as well as bugs is not good for the game, and shows that's downgrade from last year where there's no issues with the bugs. On top of that, you're not able to delete scout reports unless it's from a scout itself. As you can see, there's no option to delete any of these assignments. All reports, there's no garbage button on there. That's also a huge decline, and it's lazy by the Sports Interactive team who put this together. Next, I'll be talking about AI. According to Sports Interactive or the Football Manager mobile team when they were putting out the game, that the AI was going to be improved. It was going to be harder to play the game, as well as, on top of that, the AI would act much more intelligent and would improve the game. I know that maybe they've built a new algorithm for the game, as they've added regen faces and apparently improved the new gen system, but it's still the same for regions at least. But look here, this isn't intelligent by the AI at all when Sheffield Wednesday's AI controlled spends 35 million on a player who's played 7 games for Ajax, only to play him 4 times over the course of 3.5 seasons. That's crazy, and shows that the AI hasn't improved at all. I've also noticed in my experience that they don't challenge for the best wonder kids. You don't see them being hostile, trying to sign these players. It's still the same system where you'll find they go unchallenged, especially the best ones, which are transfer listed. You'll see no competition from Europe, which I find isn't good. Not because it's no different than the 2021 version, but it's because you hope when they make it clear in their update release that they've improved the AI, but it's no different. Clubs are still spending insane amounts on players only to not play them. And 88 million by Man City on a 34-year-old goalkeeper is insanity. Goes to show the AI hasn't improved at all. When have we had a case of a club spending that much on a 34-year-old keeper who will retire soon? It's really disappointing, in fact, because when you see that before the game's release, you're all hopeful that the game will become much more like PC, add a realm of realism, only for it to be the same old unrealistic parts of this game, where clubs are spending insane amounts on players only for them to not get played. Like, it's not good at all. It's not good for the growth of the game despite its obvious improvements over the years. I'll also note that the game has had its fair share of bugs. Earlier in the game, before it was patched a few weeks ago, the game would completely slow down and make it unplayable past January until the end of the season in May and June. On top of that, also, when it came to the menu after matches, I'll show you as an example. Instead of at the end of a match when it shows where it's taking place, it chooses a random ground in the Premier League or in another top flight league that's not the ground that you played at. So there's been a lot of bugs. Also, even over the years, like 2020's version, you couldn't play in the North American Champions League at all because it was bugged, where it was unplayable. One of the biggest concerns I have of this game is they didn't add a whole lot of revolutionary content, but at least keep the game the same as it was. When they're not adding huge features, when one of their biggest features is just adding a 5th playable nation, but when they don't take the time to keep the game at its same level functionability, and at least having at the same level of functionality and playability. It's not great. When there's not many features, and over half the features have not improved the game at all, and almost to a point made the game worse. It's not good at all. It's not improved the series. That's not good as well. I've been disappointed with the game because if anything, the game has completely declined and downgraded from its levels as the 2021 version. As at least in the 2021 version, when the new features were added, such as affiliates, the Three Nations, affiliates, range friendlies, all of those worked fine. I mean, affiliates wasn't the greatest, but at least it worked. In this new version, all the features have been subpar, bar the 5 nations playable. When the biggest feature was thought to be the AI improvements, making the game harder for the average player, as well as making it more competitive like the PC version, only for it to have the same sort of realism, it's not great for the game at all. Now with the scoreboard, it interferes with the circles for scrolling through the sections of the match, whether it's home team stats, away team stats, live scores, the current table. That all interferes and makes the game look like it's a low quality produced game, which it has been, because when it comes down to it, this game had barely any features. Many of the features were poorly designed and poorly implemented. And when that's the case, where they're not adding lots of features and making minor changes, and they mess with it, it's no better than the version from last year. Because the version from last year, at least all the features were implemented fine, and they didn't mess with any of the old features. When they mess up on the features such as scouting, where you're not able to get rid of scout reports, where you're not able to search certain regions because the game's bugged and has lots of bugs, it's not acceptable, especially when it's a game that is usually very well produced. It's probably the best game in when it comes to football on mobile devices and touch devices. But it's not great at all. A final thing I'd like to mention is that they haven't improved the realism in the game, where when it comes to international teams, during big tournaments, if the team doesn't perform, like win the tournament or finish in, let's say, semifinals or beyond, managers will get sacked. You'll end up seeing in the likes of Euros, Copa America, World Cup, where 14 managers get sacked. And half the managers in the tournament get sacked because they didn't do insanely well in the tournament, which is completely not realistic. Right there, you'll see quite a few get sacked. And it's not realistic at all. So that's what I have to say. Now, because I've been negative throughout this, I will say a few things I have liked from the version and the state of the game. So here's the things I did enjoy from the game that they have done to improve the game, or at least make it likable. First of all, their addition of 5 nations was a great one, as it means there's a bigger database. It's been asked for years, so it's good they respond to the community in that sense. I also enjoyed that they reworked affiliates to make it now that you can choose between what leagues and what teams you want to affiliate with your club. On top of that, I also enjoy that they fix issue where the game would slow down. They did that because they don't always respond to errors that quickly. And it's good they fix that so the game is functionable in the second half of European seasons. So good job for that by Sports Interactive. Those are the main ones. I also don't mind the regen faces because it's easier to tell who's a regen and who's not. Even though some of the faces are quirky and funny sometimes, definitely. It's a cool feature that I definitely enjoy, and there's definitely some realistic ones, so I think they did very well for a mobile game. So I will definitely do that, give them that. I just think that the game does need to be improved on because it was disappointing, the new features that were added, and when they regress some older features that are very useful, especially to players like me, such as the scouting, getting rid of scout reports, as well as being able to find players in niche regions without having to go through nationality and look through the lines for them. I think that's a problem because it causes... You want Football Manager Mobile to be a streamlined, simplified game, and when it's not able to do that, and when there's bugs that get missed like that, I don't like it. Also, I just didn't enjoy that they only have one nation when the game has lots of room for growth when it comes to leagues that are playable. And they definitely can manage it because I've definitely seen on the Sports Interactive forums where they are even able to add more selectable nations, more than 5. They just choose not to because of the old people having older devices. They want to make it still playable for those users. So I understand that. But it's definitely possible they can add more nations. Even if they're not licensed, I guarantee you a lot of the player base, when it comes to this game, don't mind if they added Ukraine, Austria, so on, even if it has no licensing. Because people just want the ability to have many challenges. And by adding those leagues, there definitely would be challenge. So that's what I'll say on my thoughts on the state of the game. I'll say there's definitely more negatives than positives, but the game's still good. I still think it's the best Football Manager game, the best football game on mobile, as well as the best Football Manager game on mobile. Probably better than Soccer Manager still, but I do think it's disappointing when compared to 2019, which in my opinion is probably one of the best Football Manager mobile games that they've produced. 2020 even, and 2021. They just need to improve the game, as it's disappointing when they don't add many features to improve the game, but when those features are added, they aren't up to snuff with the quality of the game that has been demonstrated in the past. There's definitely bugs in the game, and I'm happy they address some of them and fix them. But in the end, I think they need to be adding more content to the game. But it's still a great game regardless. And of course, I definitely was a bit negative in this video, but I just want to give you my honest opinion. I haven't found much content to do regarding the game. That's because I've covered a lot in the game. But I just want to give you my honest opinions and thoughts. So if you made it to this point of the video, I'm very thankful for your support and listening to my reasoning for why I don't like the game and why I think the state of it's not in the best shape. So that will conclude the video. Thank you to all those who stuck around again. I'm thankful for all the support I've got from you guys over the past year and a bit. I hope to do more videos soon. It's just finding new video ideas that would be good for you guys and helpful, which is the problem. So thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video on the state of it. I'm sorry if it came off a bit too negative. I'm just giving you my thoughts on the game as it needs to be improved. So have a good one, guys, and I hope to do a new video soon. Bye for now.